Good morning. This is the VirtualPBX-admin training. Training lasts approximately 1 hour. There's some variance based on some load times. We do record the trainings, so if you can't stay for the whole time, you can always come back later. That also allows you to share the link with other staff members who may need to become system admins, whether that's right now or in the future. With that, you see here our dash login page. This is at dash.virtualpbx.com. We need 3 pieces of information in order for you to get logged in. The first is your username, might be your email address. That should be in all lowercase letters. Your password, which is case sensitive, and the account name, which is typically your organization name. It could be your own name. If for some reason you're not able to log in, down here just above the sign-in bar is the forgot your info link. If you click on that, page refreshes. We still need that email address. And then we need one of these 2 following pieces of information. So we need either the account name or a phone number on the account. Then click on reset password. This will send you an email. In the body of the email, there'll be a link that lets you temporarily log in to change your password. Right? It logs you right back out. So then you enter your password here. You have the option to click on Remember Me, then click on Sign In. Now, here is our dashboard page. It's a little scrunched. I do apologize for that. Up here at the top, you have your name. You can click on your name at any time to get here to your user page. This is where you change your password, for instance. You can also adjust your time zone and language. And that's the display language of the web pages for you. As a system admin over here on the left, you can click on the account level settings. So you can change like the technical contact, change the time zone and language for the entire account. As system admins, you can manage your add-ons. These are additional features you can add to your account. If they incur an additional charge to your account, there will be a pop-up letting you know that there is an additional charge and what that charge is. You have to click on that to confirm it to continue to add that feature on. Otherwise, you cancel and the feature is not added. You can add things like the virtual text forward, like I have here, multiple auto attendants, the advanced reporting, and dynamic caller ID. Also on the left, you have the billing portal. So if you're the billing contact on the account, you can click on this link here, and that will take you to the billing portal. It's going to ask you for your email address, then send you a PIN number, and that is where you would go to do things like update your payment method, your credit card number, or view previous invoices. Any system admin can click on the cancel account button here and follow the on-screen steps. When you click on cancel account, this red button over here on the right, the system will then cancel the account at the close of the current billing cycle. And so that way you can get like any other, voicemails, call recordings, you can make sure your porting completes. When you're done up here, click on the close button here to the right, and you're back on your dashboard page. So up here at the top, D&D, that's for do not disturb. Mine is currently active, meaning I'm not accepting calls. Right? So if someone dials by extension, they're going straight to voicemail. Little phone icon here, this opens up a new tab and takes you to webphone.virtualpbx.net. If you have a web phone device added to your user, you can log in on this new tab with your dash login information. You can then use Chrome and Firefox from your computer to make and receive calls. Little chat bubble icon here. This opens up a new tab and takes you to virtualtext.app. This has its own login information, and that is one of the ways you would make use of texting if you have that on your account. The little question mark icon here. This opens up a chat window at the bottom right of your browser. and basically lets you speak to one of our support team members to walk you through a particular feature. The three horizontal line icon, that's the menu icon. This gets you to other dash features. Most of these I'm going to refer to the support page link in the show notes, and just basically do a search for the particular feature. We'll cover them briefly. And then here we have the logout icon. Here in the center of the page, total users, right, people who make and receive calls. Our plans are based on a per user basis. So the more users you add, the higher your bill is going to be. Then we have total devices and a breakdown on the kinds of devices. So like the starter plan, you're only forwarding to cell phones or landlines. The pro plan and above, you can have VoIP phones. Just be aware of, you typically get one included VoIP phone, and every additional VoIP phone is an additional charge. That includes soft phones, web phone, or SIP phones, right? SIP phones being the physical hardware phones. Total numbers, these are phone numbers on the account. I have 16. Generally speaking, you get one main local number as part of your monthly plan price. Some of the plans include a local number per user on top of that, and that's a pro plan and above, I'm pretty sure. So I'm obviously paying an overage per number, and in that case, I'm paying $4.99 per month per extra phone number. I have a breakdown here of assigned numbers and spare numbers, right? Assigned numbers, I'm using it. Spare numbers, it counts towards my allotment. I'm just haven't assigned it anyway yet, right? I haven't hired the people for it yet, or I haven't created that department yet, or what have you. USD ID and US toll free. US toll free is this US Canada toll free, 800 number, 888 all the way down to 833. USD ID is any US local phone number. If you want an international phone number, you can do so. You want to email our porting team, and that's porting at virtualpbx.com. They need to know the city and country that you're interested in getting a phone number in. They'll let you know if that's possible and if there is any additional documentation that's necessary. Conference bridges, I have two. That means I have enabled two of my users to host or moderate conferences. Over here in the top right, I have my main phone number block. I have these 4 main numbers. They're all going to the same area of my system. They're all playing the same main greeting, for instance. Then I have the main conference room number. You can have multiple conference room numbers, but they're all going to the same set of conference rooms. That's the number everyone dials to join the conference. That includes your staff as well as vendors or customers. The fax box number, you can have one main fax box number, and that's your inbound fax number. This allows you to edit the fax box for outbound faxing, which we'll get into a bit later. But it's essentially you create an email to send a fax. Next up, we have the company directories. There's 2 links here to the right. First is CSV, just a spreadsheet file. It's going to have all your users' names, their email addresses, their phone, their extensions, and their devices. The soft phone file, that's for use with the VirtualPBX soft phone or desktop soft phone app, right? So if you're using our app on a Mac or Windows PC, download this file. You can upload it to your soft phone on your computer. It's going to show you in your contact list the other VirtualPBX soft phone users on the account, and you can see their status in relation to their soft phone, right? So I can see coworker Mike that he's on a call on his soft phone, so I know not to call him at this time. VirtualPBX Store, this opens up a new tab, takes you to store.virtualpbx.com, where you can order things like VoIP phone. The account realm, every account has its own account realm. It's used 2 things primarily. It's one of the 3 pieces of information you need to program a third-party soft phone application, right? So someone else's app. Or it's also used primarily for outbound faxing. It's part of the address that you have to send out to. Okay, I'm going to skip back up here to the top where it says VPBX New Hire Sandbox. To the right, I have caller ID. You click on that little button there. And this pull down lets you select any of your main numbers, so any of those 4 main numbers. Whichever one you select becomes your default number for your VoIP phones, right? So it becomes their outbound caller ID by default. And then you would click on Save Changes. The Hold Music button here, this allows you to upload your own hold music file. The system will play back a .wav or .mp3 file up to 1 megabyte in size. Click on the up arrow icon, find the file on your device, and then click the up arrow icon here. Once it finishes uploading, then you would click on Save Changes. Now, that hold music file, this is after the call has come into the system, reached one of your staff members on their VoIP phone, right? They've picked up the call, had a little interaction and said, let me put you on hold for a minute. That's when this media file plays. Ours is part of the main number, but you don't want to set up the main number yet, right? You want places on your system to be already set up. So with that in mind, we're going to go to users, and that's a little person here with the desk icon. So here on the users page, you see all your users. The people with the blue suit icon, these are your system admins. All right, Dante here, who's just a great person icon, he's a standard user. He's very limited access. Right, he can check his voicemail, he can set up his own call forwarding, and that's pretty much it. He's not going to be able to add his own devices or anything like that. So up here at the top is where you add new users, and you basically fill out the form, right? First name, last name. The email address used for login, this needs to be unique for each user, right? You can't reuse email addresses. This is how the system communicates to your staff, right? In terms of like password reset emails, right? Voicemail notifications, they all go to this email address. Here, you create a password for your new user. And then here, the main extension number box, enter the extension number you want the person to use. We start you off with extension 1000, so the system will obviously start you off with the next in the series of 1000. But you can always do something like that. Right. Enter in an extension number. We typically set, suggest 4-digit extensions, just give you maximum growth and versatility. The system will automatically create a voicemail box for this user. So like when you create a user, you add a VoIP phone to them. They can pick up their VoIP phone once it registers. They can dial *98. That logs them into this voicemail box that was created for them. That first time they log in, the system will walk them through creating a voicemail box PIN number and then walk them through creating their voicemail box greeting. They will also, if they go back in and press on 5 for personal options, they can also choose to record their name, which is what the system uses for the dial by name directory. Also known as company directory. This is that second option here. Put a check mark if you want them in the user directory. Leave it blank if you don't. You can always change that later. Here's your option to send emails to an alternate address. So if you want those password reset emails or those voicemail notification emails to go to an email address other than the one that's used to log in, click on the box here, enter that different email address in the box provided. This is also something you can change at any time. And then lastly, this is something I do typically recommend doing, is send credentials to the user, right? So once you click on create user or create user and add another, if you need to add multiple people, this person gets sent an email welcoming them to the Dash account. It has their login information, right? So then they just have to keep that email so they can always access. Once a user is created, you can click on their name. All right, so if you need to change the name, you can do so, i.e. like, typos happen. You also have the option to change their credentials. Click on the link here. Right, so you can change their email address and or their password. You can also click here to send them the password reset email, so they can just create their own password. Here's your option to change their voicemail box PIN number. Just enter 4 digits and then save changes. Here's the option to send to an alternate address. Here's the option to be in the user directory. Over here on the right, this little person icon, this pull down allows you to change a user into an admin or an admin back down to a user. Little clock icon here, this pull down lets you select the time zone for the user, right? So that way their voicemail timestamps are correct. The flag icon, this pull down allows you to change the display language for the user. You have English, French, German, or Russian. The ringing timeout defaults to 20 seconds. That's plenty of time to send calls to a landline or VoIP phone. If you have a user who's only using a cell phone, you'd want to increase this to like 30 seconds, possibly longer. Extension box, users can have multiple extension numbers if you want them to. Just click on add extension, enter the new extension number, and then save changes. Users can have their own phone numbers. You have two options. You have add from spare or by numbers. Add from spare is how you use a number you're not currently using, right? Using one of those spare numbers. By numbers is how you add new numbers to the account, right? Now, when you unassign a number, that doesn't delete the number from your account. It just moves it to a spare number status, right? So if I do click unassign here and then save changes, and then we have to click on the box again. If I go from add from spare, and here's that 408 number, right? So then I can click on the box in front, click add selected, click save changes. Now it's back. In terms of by numbers, you have local toll-free. Toll-free, choose a toll-free prefix, click on search. It can take a little while. Click add next to any number you like. You can add multiple on most locations. Now, at this point, you haven't reserved the number, right? So you need to come down here and click on by numbers. Now you're actually adding it to the account, right? No one else can claim it, right? If I didn't click on that buy button, right? Let's say I got called into a meeting before I clicked the buy button. I could come back after that meeting. Someone else could have actually bought that number, right? Because it's a dynamic list. Local numbers, you need to know the area code that you want a number in. Do a search, and you can see, so 310, that's in LA, right? There's only 3 numbers. Maybe I don't like those numbers. So what I could do, and any area code, you can get an error message saying that there's nothing available. Or so in that case, or in this case where there's only so few, you can do a search at your favorite search engine for area code 310 overlay, and that will tell you that's at 424. And then you can do a search for that area code. And here you see plenty, but beyond that, same process, right? Click add, scroll down, click by numbers, and now you're adding it to the account. Now, numbers on a user, also numbers that you add directly to a group. They're available 24/7. They don't have hours of operation, so it's not something you necessarily, it's just something you should know, right? Now, when you have any place you have a number, you have this little gear icon. So first up, there's caller ID, outbound caller ID name. In the box here to the right, you can enter in text up to 15 characters. It counts spaces as part of that 15. When you click on Save Changes, that information we transmit to the other carriers who support this feature. It takes them about 3 business days to update their servers. And that's the name information we associate with calls made out from this phone number. Right, so we send the number, we send the name. Down here, you have the option to turn on inbound CNAME, which means when calls come in on this number, you're passing through that CNAME information that comes through to your staff members' phones. One thing to know about outbound CNAME, right? The receiving carrier has final say about what shows up on the phones on their network. This is especially problematic when you're calling cell phones, right? The cell phone carriers, like my cell phone carrier, they want to charge me like $10 a month extra to have that feature, have the name show up on my cell phone. I don't want to pay it, and that's fairly common among most of the cell phone carriers. They want to charge their subscribers extra for it. Their cell phone providers are also the ones who put that like spam risk or telemarketer tag on calls that come to your cell phones. All right, next up, E911. Each phone number can have its own E911 address. This allows you to then assign that phone number to specific VoIP phones for the purposes of 911, right? So your staff member Bob works from home. On his VoIP phone, you can assign a particular phone number for 911 purposes only. So if heaven forbid he ever has to call 911 from his VoIP phone, his address gets sent to emergency services, not your corporate headquarters. And then prepend, this is a VoIP phone feature. This allows you to put text in front of the caller ID that shows up on your staff members' VoIP phones. Basically give them an idea of the kind of call that they're getting. All right. Then we have a bunch of user features. Assuming that it will show up. Here we go. First up is voicemail, right? It's most commonly used. This is the default settings for a voicemail box. Voicemail boxes can hold up to 100 messages. After that, they are full and won't hold anymore. Now, by default, you're going to be sent an email with a voicemail attachment, MP3, so you can just listen to it. But if you want to manage your voicemail box, you either need to call into your voicemail box, right? So from a VoIP phone, that's *98. When you listen to your voicemail messages, you'll have the option to delete. Or under your user portal, you can log into the website, and we'll get to the user portal at the end. But the first page of the user portal is your voicemail tab, so you can listen to them there and manage your voicemail box. Here, you also have the option to delete the messages after notification. So after we send out that email with the attachment, if this is checked, then the system would remove that voicemail from the voicemail box, so that way the voicemail box doesn't become full. The other one that comes up is the customized call recording. You just click up here to enable, and then you need to tell which kind of calls you want to record. You can just do all four, which means you're recording everything. But the other thing we tend to see is something like this, right? So the outbound external or inbound external means customers called in, right? Someone from outside the system, right? And then outbound external means I'm calling the customer back. Then click on Save Changes. I think I skipped over something, so let's go back over here to devices. So you can have multiple devices on your user. Just remember, if you have multiple VoIP devices, you're most likely getting charged for the extra ones. Right? Depends on your plan. Like the Pro plan includes one VoIP device per user. After that, the second and third ones you're going to get charged for. Now, under the devices, let me get down here. I wanted to show the soft phone. So whenever you add a soft phone or web phone, you're going to get this warning message. Please read it at least once. After you click close, a big box will show up. And below where it says view configuration guide, down here it says use third-party application. So by default, this soft phone is saying you're using someone else's application, right? Third party. If you click on that toggle down here, now it says use VirtualPBX application. So you're using our app, right? So then you just need to give it a name, click on create device, and then save changes. Once you click on save changes, the user gets an email saying your VirtualPBX soft phone is ready. It's going to have the username and password so they can log into the app, and there'll be download links so they can download the app to their appropriate device. This is the only place you can add the VirtualPBX soft phone, right? So you have to add it directly to a user. Under the device tab, you can add a soft phone, but you can only add a third-party soft phone on that page, right? So if you want to use our app, you need to add it here directly to the user. All right. Now, I'm going to go over here to groups. Groups are departments, right? Sometimes referred to as ring groups or hunt groups. Up here at the top, you click on add group. You need to give it a name. And then you need to give it an extension. Then click and drag your staff members that you want to be in the group, and then click on create group. Once the group's created, you can click on the name. And the name is basically for internal use. You can make it wherever you want, but you can change the name here. You have group call attempts. This is how many times the system will offer the inbound call to the members of the group. Little arrows here. You can increase or decrease that as necessary. You can delete the group if you don't need it here. Otherwise, click on Save Changes. The Members tab here, or Members box, you can see the staff members that are assigned to the group and how you're offering calls. In this case, this is ring all or blast ringing, right? Everyone's getting offered the call at the same time. Whoever picks up first gets the call. In an office environment, that's going to work out pretty well because in general, you'll be able to hear when your colleague gets the call. Remote working situation, you might want to make sure you have like Slack or Teams or whatever, so that way you know, hey, I got, did someone get that call? Kind of thing. You don't want to make sure, a system admin could check the call logs to make sure someone got the call, but say, Dante and David pick up the call at the same time, one of them is going to get dead air. Right? And that can be a little concerning for that person who gets dead air. Extension box, users can have, or groups can have multiple extension numbers if you need them to. This is basically how your staff would transfer calls to them. Like users, groups can have their own phone numbers, add from spare or buy new. You have the little gear icon here. Also, like users, this phone number is available 24/7. Group features. Bring back. So by default, when a person calls into the group, right, and your staff member's phones start ringing, the person calling in hears that ringing tone. If you don't want them to hear that, you would enable ringback and then upload your own MP3 or WAV file up to 1 megabyte in file size. One thing to know is the system will not loop the ringback file for you. So you want to make sure the total time of the file matches or exceeds the total ring time in your group, right? And the default ring time in a group is 2 minutes, but you can always change that. Next action. This is basically how you tell the system what to do if no one is able to answer the call. Right? You would click to enable, and then in this pull down, you select somewhere on your system, like a voicemail box, or a particular user, another group, etc. Allow call forward. This just allows your users to make use of call forwarding. Right? So if you're only using VoIP phones, you might want to turn this on so that way people can forward to their cell phones if necessary. Caller ID prepend, this is for your VoIP phone users. You can enter text or numbers in front of the caller ID that shows up on your staff members' phones. Right? This gives them an idea about what the call might be about. Do one or the other. Please don't do both. It can be confusing for people. All right, so now that you have users and groups and devices, we're going to go to the main number. So up here at the top, main company numbers. You can unassign if you no longer want to use a number as a main number. Down here, add numbers or buy numbers if you want to add new ones, or add from spare if you want to make use of a number that's currently not being used. All right, you've got the little gear icon here as well. Then you have office hour strategy, 24-hour open office. Right, you're open 24/7. Otherwise, custom office hours. If you choose this for each day of the week that they're open, put a check mark in front of the day. And then in these boxes here to the right, put your open hours in 24-hour or military time. Down at the very bottom, which you should be able to see, you also have the option here to be closed at lunch for the same time every day. Just put a check mark here and then enter your lunch hours in that 24-hour or military time, and then click on Save Changes. Office holidays, if you're closed for holidays, put a check mark here, and then over here on the right, click on Add Holiday, choose single day, date range, or advanced. Each one will create a new row. Right? Single day, like I have here for Christmas Day. You give it a name, you choose the month and the date, then Save Changes. Right? Date range, like I have here for holiday, gave it a name, start date, end date, Save Changes. And then Memorial Days is for advanced. Right? Give it a name, choose month, And then the second pull down, you have first through fifth as well as last, and then the day of the week. Right? And then save changes. If you don't need a holiday, click on the little trash icon and then save changes. The main thing to also be aware of is that there's no year indicator, so you may need to check on your holidays after they've lapsed. Now, incoming call handling. Oops. So for my main numbers, right, those four main numbers at the top, I have routing options for when calls during my open hours, during my after hours, and during my holidays. If I had chosen to be here, have lunch hours, there would be a lunch hours tab as well. All right, so first option, during my open hours, I have calls coming into this virtual receptionist option. This is a link. All right. Your menu option, this is what people press to navigate through your phone system. You click on add route to give yourself a new row. Right, pull down, you have 0 through 9 and the star key and the default action. And then here, the second pull down, these are places on your system. Users, groups, devices, etc. Then you've got your greeting options. Text to speech is just that. You type it in and the system reads it back out in a computerized or robotic voice. The system names this for you. Right? So in this case, main open hours menu TTS. When you create one, I recommend on the left clicking on the greetings tab and renaming it just even main greeting 1, just so you know in case you have to go back to it, like you made a typo or something. You can upload your own file, right? .wave.mp3 up to 1 megabyte. Click choose file, then update, save and save changes. Choose from the existing recording. Right? This pull down will show all your media files on the account. Just choose the one you want, click update, then save and save changes. You can record it over the phone. Now, when the system says pick up a phone registered to the account, it means pick up a VoIP phone. If you want to use a cell phone or landline, you can. Just under settings, down here, make sure allow outside recording is turned on. Right? By default, it's turned off as a security feature, so that way someone random can't accidentally enter the PIN number and then change your main greeting on you. Right? But you still need this PIN number. This PIN number is specific to this time of day, right? So it's only good for my open hours. So if I called in on Saturday, I would have been told invalid entry because it was during my after hours. Now, when you call in over the phone, you're replacing the existing greeting that's there. So something to be aware of. Professional recording services. When you click order here, this opens up a new tab to a company called Snap Recordings. They're completely separate from us. They have like 100 voice actors and actresses to choose from. They bill you directly via credit card. They send you the completed file via email. So then you could click here to upload your own file. All right, settings. First up, number of retries on missed dial. This is how many times your inbound caller can make a mistake. They have one built-in attempt automatically. So any digits you enter here is on top of that, right? So I have 1, which means my inbound caller has 2 total attempts. Dialing timeout. This is how much time the system listens for an additional button press, right? So a person calls in and they enter 5. Well, the system's going to wait an additional 5 seconds to make sure that they didn't mean to enter in an additional digit for an extension number before it assumes they're done and then goes back to say, is it a valid option or not? All right. Allow dialing extensions. By default, this is on, and basically all it means is the inbound caller enters a valid extension number, the system will transfer the call. Right. If I turn that off, that means my inbound caller can only press my menu options. Enter an extension number will not be transferred. The suppress the playing of invalid entry. So on that final attempt, by default, the system says we did not recognize your entry. If there's a default action in place, then the system will transfer the call to that default action. If there's no default action in place, then the system will say goodbye. Right? Now that's in place because typically you may want callers to call in, play a greeting, and then automatically transfer the call. Right? In that instance, you would not want that. You did not recognize your entry message, which is why that's here. Any changes you make to your main menu, your greetings, or your settings, then you want to click Save down here at the bottom right, and click Save Changes over here on the incoming call handling page. After hours, I'm using the second option here. This is the live operator answer option. This first pull down, you can select anything on your system. Right? The idea is you can offer it to a group or a user, even a device if you wanted to. Basically, you're giving somebody a chance to answer the call first. And if they're not able to, then the caller gets sent, in this case, to my after hours virtual receptionist, where, again, I probably have a different greeting and different menu options. All right, for holidays, I'm using this third option here. Now, the first pull down, you can select anything on your system. I've chosen the quote special option, which is at the very bottom, which is say just skip the voicemail. And then the second pull down is always a voicemail box. Right. So I'm basically saying, hey, during holidays, I'm not going to bother ringing anybody. Just send the inbound caller to voicemail so they can leave a message. All right. Main conference number, you can add multiple conference numbers if you want. You can click on custom greeting to enter a text-to-speech greeting. Even if you leave this disabled, when you call your conference numbers, the system will say, welcome to the conference, and then prompt you to enter the conference room number and then PIN number. Main fax box number, you can only have the one main fax box number, but once you do, you can edit this fax box here. And then first up, inbound notification. This is designed to put an email address in the box here to the right. Whenever a fax comes into the system, this email gets sent a message saying, hey, there's a new fax, has the date, the time, phone numbers involved, and a PDF attachment. Now, one thing to also know is if someone dials your fax box number and hangs up, i.e. they call like from their cell phone, this email still gets an email saying that there was a failed inbound fax attempt. Now, in the body of the email, right, if it says wireless number, that's a pretty good indication that it was a misdial. Right. Beyond that, you're going to want to, if it's a number you recognize and expecting a fax from, you'd want to let them know, hey, the fax didn't get through. Email permissions in the box to the right, typically designed to put your company's email domain. This would allow anyone to send a fax out on the account, even if they're not a user on the account. Right? So anyone at VirtualPBX, for instance, can send a fax out from this account, even though I only have 4 users on it. You can also just put an email address just to say, hey, only this person can send faxes out. In terms of sending faxes out, create an email like you normally do, right? From the email address that's associated with your user. In the to field, you want to put the +1 area code and number, right? No spaces, dashes, or parentheses. And then you want to put the @ symbol and then your account realm. Then you just need to attach a PDF or TIFF file and click send. So the system looks at the to field, the from field, and the attachments. It doesn't transmit anything that's in the subject line or in the body of the email. Only one email address per email, right? Don't try to CC other phone numbers and one email. Also, only one attachment per email. So make sure that you don't have any signature files or anything like that on your email. Oh, okay. Auto attendance. This is an add-on feature. It is for if you have multiple businesses and you want them on the same account, right? So that way each business has its own number and greetings. Or if you want to do sub-menuing, right? 1 for English, 2 for Spanish. You would create those here. Up at the top here, add auto attendant, you give it a name, give it an extension number, and then click on create attendant. Once an attendant is created, it starts off looking like this, being unavailable in main menu, i.e. it's a standalone attendant, so separate business. I can click on this toggle, click on save changes. Now it would be available in my main menu, right? So off of my virtual receptionist, I can make a menu option go here when this toggle is active. This could also be a next action option off of a group. Auto attendants can have their own phone numbers, right? Click on add from spare or buy new. You got the little gear icon here as well. They can have multiple phone numbers. Extension box, they can have multiple extensions if you want them to. This is typically only going to be used by your staff to transfer calls to the appropriate business or group, or like like your Spanish speaking group versus your English speaking group. Little wrench icon here. You have open hours, after hours, and holidays. This matches the times that we set up under your main number. But beyond that, they only have the option to go to the virtual receptionist for their times. Right, so you can set up your own main greeting here, their menu options, etc. And then save changes. Next up is the devices tab. This shows your devices that you have on the account. Green means it's registered, so we can send calls to it. Red is unregistered, so we can't. You can add devices here, although we do recommend that you make sure to add them on the users. The other thing to be aware of is here is where you would assign the emergency caller ID for specific VoIP phones. Oh, here is your greetings tab. Up here, you can add new greetings. Just give it a name, find the file, right, .wave.mp3, click up create greeting. It will upload it here, and then it's available for you to assign wherever. Right, name of the file. Source, TTS is text to speech. Upload means you uploaded the file. Recording means it was recorded over the phone. The little play icon here will let you play back the greeting directly in your browser, so you can verify if you still need it or not. You also have the option to download the file. I recommend doing this for your default main greeting. That way you at least have a backup copy somewhere. Or you can even like download it and then re-upload it here, so that way you have 2 copies of it. That way you don't have to worry about it being accidentally recorded over the phone, especially during the holiday season. Then you have the edit icon. Click on the little wrench. You can always change the name, or if you no longer need it, click on delete. Numbers takes you to your numbers in use, so you can see where they're assigned. You got the gear icon if you need to. If you go to spare numbers, you can buy numbers here to add more additional spare numbers if you need them. If you want to actually remove numbers, once a number is spare, you can then remove it. You just have to come here, click on the little box in front of the number. Here, we'll get rid of these 2 as well. Then click on the delete option that has shown up here. Continue, and now I have less numbers on my account. You can also port a number. That's just moving it from one carrier to, say, VirtualPBX. Please look at the go in the support pages and click on or do a search for porting. That'll go over the total process for you. It's a lot easier to show it there than through here. Voicemail. So these are your voicemail boxes on the account. The ones with the heading under the user tab means it was created with the user, but you can create your own voicemail boxes up here at the top by clicking on add voicemail box. Give it a name, give it a voicemail box number, give it a PIN number, click on create voicemail box. Now, one thing to keep in mind, the voicemail box number is not the same as a PIN number, not the same as an extension number, right? So if I dialed into your virtual receptionist, or this virtual receptionist entered 3333, I am not getting to this voicemail box. right? If I want to make that an option, I would have to make it a menu option, right? Press 7 to leave a voicemail for support. Then it would go to voicemail box 3333. Now, this information is what you would use to access the voicemail box over the phone, right? So you can listen to messages, etc. Under advanced reading media, you can upload your own files, right? .wav, .mp3. You've got two options. The media file is basically what you should be playing by default normally. The temporary is for that out of office or vacation message. If something is selected in temporary and a media file at the same time, only the temporary file plays. Right? The media file will not play again until temporary is set back to none. Recipients, user voicemail boxes have one built-in recipient, right? That email address used for login. But for any voicemail box, you can come here, click on add recipient, and then keep adding email addresses until you're done. And then click on save changes. Then you have options. So once you have a media file in place and make sure that you have a recipient, you can click on already set up, right? So that way they don't have to be prompted to record a voicemail greeting. Here you can verify that you have the attached messages to email. Now, this is my support voicemail box, so I never want this voicemail box to become full. So, and because of that, down here where it says delete after notification, I put a check mark here. Right, so that way, someone leaves a voicemail, the two email addresses I have associated with this voicemail box get sent a message saying, hey, you have a new voicemail. The system automatically then deletes that voicemail message from the voicemail box so it doesn't become full. Text forward, this just allows you to have numbers accept inbound text messages and then forward them on. And this is an add-on feature. Virtual extension is a plan-specific feature. This just allows you to add additional extension numbers without adding additional users. These are quite limited. Right? You can't use the VirtualPBX cell phone on this extension. You can't add them to a group or a queue, right? Because they're not actual users. But they can be a menu option from your virtual receptionist, or people can enter this extension number and reach this device. Call logs just basically shows your call history. You have today, this month, this week, etc. You can also go custom, which lets you go back up to 12 months. Let's go back to January. You click on filter. Green arrow to the right is a call that came into the system. When you click on it here, you can see the two different legs. Right? So call coming in, call going from the system out to the contact number. Little fire extinguisher icon here. This reports the call. Right? So this creates an email for you, pre-addressed to support@virtualpbx.com. It's going to have the technical details. You want to type in why exactly you're sending that in. If you need to go back further than 12 months, you need to actually contact our support team. They need to escalate that up to our engineers. The engineers can only go back up to 18 months. So if you need to keep your call logs for some federal compliance reasons, you probably want to do that on a monthly basis. Call logs, feature codes. These are ways for your VoIP phone users to access Dash features directly from their VoIP phone. This is also a page under the support pages. You can also do a search for the phone commands cheat sheet. I don't know why it's not loading. Oh, there we go. Just a little bit slow. The main ones that people use are typically the voicemail, right, to access their voicemail. Some people make use of the call forwarding ones, etc. Blacklist. This allows you to create a list of phone numbers that you're blocking from reaching your system. You basically just need to add +1 area code or number, no spaces, dashes, or parentheses. I would refer to the show notes in the support page link to get a better see the screenshots of how to edit that properly. Call recording. This just shows you your call recording, your recorded calls. This account is set up with AWS. So in that case, I have a separate AWS account that I have linked to my Dash account. And in fact, I can take you here to AWS integration. From AWS, I need the account key or access key, secret access key, and the bucket. And then I click on Save Changes. And basically, for my call recordings, they're being stored on AWS. Now, if you don't have AWS, when you click on Call Recording, it will take you to recordings.virtualpbx.com. You'll have to log in with your Dash login information, but then you can see your recordings there. Number Manager just shows you your spare numbers page. User portal, every user has access to their own user portal. Starts you off on your voicemails. When you click on the box at the very front, it's how you change the status. Otherwise, you can play it back or download it here. You can view your call history. If you have your own fax box, you can view your fax history here. Contact list is everything on your account. This is what you would use to help you transfer calls. The conference tab, this only is for users that have their own conference bridge. Here's where you would adjust the moderator and participant PIN numbers, which should be different from each other. You choose to have people join or who join are muted or deafened. Play exit and entry tones. The plus icon lets you invite another Dash user to your conference. The lock icon locks the conference so no one else can join in. You can mute everybody, unmute everybody, or end the conference. Settings and devices. Right here is where your staff members can enable call forwarding on their own. They just put on the little box, put +1 area code and phone number, and save. All right, so now I'm call forwarding. Come back, uncheck it, click save again. Now I'm not. Webhooks is a plan-specific feature. This allows you to link Dash to other software. It's some level of programming. In the show notes, you can look at the Introduction to Zapier webinar. You can also go to developer.virtualpbx.com. And you actually want to speak to our sales team if you're interested in this. The call center, in the show notes, you want to look at the ACD QUEUES Pro demo. These are call queues. These are a more advanced version of groups. You have different kinds of routing options in terms of you can do things like most idle or round robin, who's been, whoever's been. So most idles who have been waiting the longest gets the next call. Round robin will equalize out over time. Excuse me. Queues allow your staff members to log in and out of the queue, right? So that way when they're at the end of their shift, beginning of their shift, etc. And your managers can listen in on calls, right? They can eavesdrop, whisper, and barge. Dynamic caller ID. This is an add-on feature. This allows you to create rules to change the outbound caller ID for your VoIP phones. Right, like you can make, like I have a rule here for Vegas, where it's that, hey, if they dial a 702 number from their VoIP phone, it automatically changes their outbound caller ID to a 702 number to look like a local call. Faxes, this is your fax manager, so you can get to any fax box on the account, so you can see your inbound faxes, and then go to your outbound faxes to see faxes here, and then the email to fax logs in case there was a problem with if the system had a problem processing a request. Reports, this opens a new tab, takes you to the advanced reporting page. In the show notes, look at the advanced reporting demo, and that will explain more about what this feature is. It is an add-on. It basically lets you create your own custom reports. And then voicemail boxes. This lets you get to any voicemail box on the account. So you can see their messages, i.e. if they're full. As an admin, if you click on the box in front, you can also move voicemail messages as well as change their status. And you can also listen to them, etc. So that is everything. I haven't seen any questions pop up, so I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I thank you for your time today, and we'll be back next Tuesday at 10 a.m.